Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for stopping by. I just wanted to quickly talk about the Fuji X100V again, but this time I wanted to touch on just portraits. So what I want to do is just tell you kind of my concept of how I take portraits, why I take portraits, and just some of my thoughts on this particular camera and the portraits it can take. I mostly just want to do this because there's a lot of talk out there about how the X100V isn't a professional camera, and I get what they're saying. By spec, you know, on paper, it's not technically a professional grade camera, but it is a great camera that takes great portraits. And I wanted to show that. And I want to talk kind of about portraits for me, and then at the end I'm just going to show you my portraits. So I want to start the video out by saying I'm not a portrait photographer. I don't really know what I would call my niche. I don't really have one particular thing. And I don't think it's bad to have one particular thing. I just don't know what mine is. I walk around, I take photos, I document my town, but I also love doing portraits and taking portraits of my friends. I love offering photos to people. I shoot weddings, I shoot client work. I kind of just shoot everything, and I really actually enjoy everything. I do enjoy shooting real estate photography and stuff like that as well, sometimes. But I don't know that I would call myself a portrait photographer. So why talk about portraits? Mostly because any photographer who has a camera is going to be asked, can you take my photo? And with that, I want you to feel comfortable knowing if you have the X100V, you can do that and have some really good looking photos. So for me, a lot of the time I'm shooting, depending on what I'm shooting wider apertures for most of my stuff. 1.2 for certain types of portraits, up to 2.8. And then beyond that is if I'm adding more people into the photos. Again, I know that's not technically correct for certain things. I know some people like to shoot f4 or f5.6. And if I'm doing wider portraits where I'm trying to put more stuff into it, then absolutely I'll widen it out because I want other elements to be sharp. But typically, I love that smooth roll-off look. I'm a cheap photographer, whatever. And that's one reason I love the X100V, is that it is a 35mm equivalent. So that means it's a 28mm originally, looks like a 35, but the compression is not that of a 35. So at f2 is you're not getting a 35mm compression. You're not getting it as blown out. So at f2, I've got N sharp, it's got a really smooth roll off, but it doesn't look as compressed. There's still things that are noticeable at f2. And you'll see that in a lot of these portraits. It's not just a completely blown out background. You have a lot kind of going for it. And the thing that I love about the X100V is that it has a quick aperture ring. As you're like, if you're in the middle of focusing, you're able to quickly adjust everything. What I think people need to think about whenever they are getting this camera or looking at this camera, in the sense of the professionalism of the camera, is how confident do you feel showing up with this camera to shoot something? Now, I'm not necessarily saying get this camera and start shooting headshots for businesses or shooting weddings with it and it being your only camera, because it's not built for that. And again, that's why it's not a professional camera, quote unquote. But it can still take very professional looking photos. It's all about the workflow. And I just wanted to just show some of my work that I have done portrait-wise and show some of the quality in the camera that it has to offer, especially if you're just getting this camera to post stuff on Instagram. I mean, really any camera at that point would work. All right, so that's my opinion on portraits with the X100V. I tried to keep this short, easily digestible. I know I can ramble and just talk and talk and talk. So I'm just gonna shut up and show you the photos. Let me know in the comments if this video helped you decide on getting it or not getting it, and what camera you are gonna get if you don't get this camera. And let me know if you use it for portrait work, whether professionally or not professionally. See you guys.